There were 8 of us, until we counted 9. There were 8 of us when we started the trip. 8 friends, 1 van, a simple weekend getaway. The air smelled like rain, the kind that never really falls. We joked, argued about music, shared snacks, talked about nothing. It was supposed to be just another road trip, just another memory. But somewhere after midnight, something changed. The road felt longer. The headlights seemed dimmer. And when we stopped for gas, someone said something that made my blood run cold. Wait, weren't there only 8 of us? We counted. Once, twice, 3 times. There were 9. And the worst part, no one could figure out who the 9th was. I never thought that trip would stay with me forever. Back then, it was supposed to be simple. Just 8 friends, a rented van, and a few days away from everything. No deadlines, no noise, no city lights. Just the open road and the idea that, for once, life could slow down. The morning we left, the air was cool and clear. The van smelled like coffee, cheap air freshener, and a hint of old fabric seats. We packed too much, as always. Snacks, tents, jackets for weather that never came, and that one guitar no one really knew how to play. Everything felt light, careless, free. There were 8 of us, 4 rows of seats. Everyone had their place, no one standing, no one missing. 8. The highway stretched ahead like a ribbon that never ended. We played music too loud, shouted lyrics out the windows, tossed chips at each other, and laughed at nothing in particular. It was one of those moments where you think, this is it. This is happiness. But every time we passed through a patch of forest, the air changed. The radio lost signal. Voices dropped. It was like something in those trees absorbed sound, or maybe listened to it. Hours later, we stopped at a small gas station. 2 pumps, a flickering neon sign, and a quiet man behind the counter who barely looked up as we pulled in. The sun was low now, painting the ground in long, thin shadows. That's when it happened. Something small, almost nothing, but enough to stick in my mind. One of us, Marina, I think, stared at the van for a moment too long. Then she frowned, confused, as if trying to count something invisible. She said we felt more, as if there were 9 of us, not 8. We laughed, of course. Too many hours on the road, not enough sleep. But still, her face stayed pale. She didn't laugh with us. When we climbed back in, I counted again. 1 by 1. 8. Every time. And yet, when the headlights hit the window, for just a second, I saw what looked like a reflection that didn't belong. A faint outline in the back row, sitting perfectly still. I told myself it was nothing, a shadow, a trick of the glass. But after that, the laughter didn't come back. The sky grew darker. The road wound through endless stretches of forest. The fog came in thick waves, swallowing everything ahead of us. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, my eyes stopped on that same dark space in the corner. And I could swear. It moved. No one said anything. We all felt it. That quiet pressure in the air, the wrongness you can't explain. I could hear breathing behind me sometimes, just soft enough to doubt if it was real. A faint shift of fabric, a presence that was almost human, but not quite. By the time we reached the next stop, it was well past midnight. The world outside looked half frozen, gas pumps glinting under pale lights, fog twisting like smoke. We stepped out 1 by 1, grateful for the cold air. It was silent. Too silent. That's when I noticed the ground. Dirt, wet from dew, and footprints. 9 sets. They circled the van, perfectly even, perfectly spaced. 8 of us stood outside, motionless. No one moved. No one breathed. But the 9th set of prints stopped right behind where I'd been sitting. I wanted to find an explanation. Maybe someone walked twice. Maybe I miscounted. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. The fog thickened, pressing against us like something alive. For a moment, I thought I saw someone in it, just a shape, standing still near the van's door. Then it was gone. We drove off without speaking. The van felt heavier. And though I counted again and again, I never found the courage to look back. Because I already knew. We were 8 when we left, but something else came with us. The road ahead felt longer after that night. Every turn looked the same. The same trees, the same curve, the same whisper of wind against the glass. It was as if the world had folded in on itself, looping us through the same stretch of highway again and again. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but when I looked out the window, I recognized a broken billboard we had already passed hours earlier. It felt like déjà vu, but heavier, almost physical, like pressure in my chest. I wanted to speak, to ask if anyone else noticed. But the silence inside the van was too dense. Everyone stared ahead, eyes dull, faces half lit by the glow of the dashboard. No one looked back. Not once. The fog outside had turned silver under the moonlight. It moved strangely, too slow, as if following the van's motion. Every few minutes it would ripple, and I'd catch shapes within it. Tall, thin, human shapes. Watching. I rubbed my eyes, told myself I was tired. But when I blinked, I saw something that made my stomach twist. In the reflection of the window, there were too many faces. 8 in the seats, and one more, half hidden in the dark behind us. I tried to breathe quietly, not to attract attention, but my pulse was too loud. And somewhere in the back row, fabric shifted, slow, deliberate, like someone crossing their legs. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The van's clock began to flicker. First the minutes jumped backward, then forward again. 12:41, 12:37, 12:46, 12:41. Over and over. The lights on the dashboard dimmed, then returned. The radio, though turned off, crackled faintly. Bursts of static. Fragments of voices that weren't any of ours. Just whispers, merging with the hum of the road. That was when I noticed something else. The temperature. Cold, but not like air conditioning. It was the kind of cold that feels wet, that seeps into your bones. My breath fogged the glass, even though the others didn't. When I finally turned my head, just for a moment, I caught sight of the back row. Everyone else seemed frozen. And in the faint glow of the taillights, I saw something sitting between the last 2 seats. It had no clear shape, more like the outline of a person made of shadow, darker than darkness itself. Not moving, but not still either. Like it was breathing in time with the engine. The air grew heavier. I could feel pressure against my skin, as if the air around me had weight. My hands trembled. I looked at the person sitting nearest to me, hoping for a sign, but their eyes were glassy, unfocused. They looked awake, but empty. When I blinked again, the figure was gone. The next few hours blurred. Some of us fell asleep or pretended to. The van kept moving through the mist, though none of us seemed to remember who was driving. At one point, I thought I saw our driver slumped forward, hands loose on the wheel. But the van didn't swerve. It kept perfectly straight, like something unseen was guiding it. Time dissolved. The clock on the dashboard froze completely. The air outside no longer matched the road on the GPS. No signs, no towns, just black forest and endless turns. When dawn finally came, it didn't feel real. The light was pale and sickly, as if it had been drained of color. We stopped by the side of the road, exhausted. I stepped out, feeling the ground under my shoes, needing something solid. That's when I saw them. Footprints. Again. 9 sets, in the dirt beside the van. But this time, only 8 of us had left the vehicle. The 9th set didn't move in the same direction as ours. It trailed off toward the woods, deeper and deeper into the fog, before vanishing. And as I stood there, trying to calm my breathing, I realized something even worse. The ground where those prints ended was pulsing. Subtle, but visible, like the soil itself was breathing. When we got back inside, I noticed another change. A jacket, one of ours, that none of us recognized. It hung across the back seat, damp and dark, smelling faintly of metal and cold earth. No one claimed it. No one even touched it. Hours later, when I tried to remember whose jacket it might have been, I couldn't recall all of our names. There should have been 8. But one of the faces in my mind was already fading, as if erased. That was the moment I realized the truth. We didn't just have something extra with us. We had already lost someone. The day that followed felt like a dream that refused to end. The air outside was too still, the light too pale. Even the colors of the trees seemed wrong, faded, desaturated, as if something had drained the world of warmth. We kept driving, though none of us spoke about where we were going. No one even asked. The GPS stopped working hours ago. The map showed nothing but gray. The road seemed endless, bending through the same forest that looked exactly like the one we had passed before. Every so often, I'd glance in the rearview mirror. 8 faces. Familiar, but somehow not. Some of them looked softer, almost blurred at the edges, as if memory couldn't hold their shape anymore. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. But deep down, something inside me whispered that this wasn't madness. It was recognition, the kind you don't want to admit. There were moments when the van itself seemed alive. The hum of the engine didn't sound mechanical anymore. It pulsed, steady and slow, like a heartbeat. Sometimes the floor beneath my feet would vibrate, even when the wheels weren't turning. And sometimes, when the van was still, it still felt like we were moving. By late afternoon, the fog began to lift. Not completely, just enough to reveal a narrow road cutting through a valley. We decided to stop again, though no one said it aloud. It was like the van made the decision for us. The place looked deserted. No signs, no houses, just a thin clearing beside an old wooden sign eaten by rust. The letters were too faded to read. I stepped out first. The air was heavy, metallic. Each breath burned slightly, as if I were inhaling dust. When the others joined me, I felt it again. That weight, that invisible awareness. It was like the world itself was waiting for us to do something wrong. The forest around us was silent, yet alive. Branches moved without wind. The fog rose and fell like breath. And somewhere deeper inside the woods, I thought I heard a faint echo, the rhythmic click of footsteps, matching our own. That was when I saw it. At the edge of the clearing stood a van, the same model, the same color. Its windows were dark, impossible to see through. It looked old, covered in dust and dirt, as if it had been sitting there for years. But the plates were the same as ours. My stomach dropped. I felt cold, truly cold, for the first time since that first night. It wasn't possible. But there it was. Our van, parked beside our van. I turned toward the others. They were staring at it too, unmoving. Their faces looked wrong. Not scared, not shocked, just blank. Like they were waiting for something to happen. And then I noticed movement behind the second van's window. Shadows. People sitting in the same pattern as us. 8 silhouettes. But one seat was still filled in both vans. The back row. Something shifted inside the glass. Not fast, not sudden. Just a slow turn of the head. The shape in the back seat looked up, and though I couldn't see its eyes, I felt its gaze pierce through the glass, through the fog, through me. The air split open with sound. A single, low hum, like the world itself had exhaled. And then, without warning, the lights of our van flickered back on. For a moment I thought it was just electrical interference, but then I saw the reflection again, not in the windows, but in the metal itself. 9 faces, staring back. The last thing I remember before everything went black was the feeling of hands, cold, unfamiliar, resting lightly on my shoulders from behind. When I woke up, it was daylight again. bright, ordinary daylight. The van was parked on the side of the road. The others were asleep, or at least looked like they were. I stepped out, shaking, disoriented. The air was fresh this time. Birds, wind, warmth, all the things that had been missing before. For a few seconds, I thought it had all been a dream, until I noticed the footprints. They stretched away from the van in a straight line, disappearing into the woods. 9 sets, clear and deep. But this time, one was missing. Mine. I turned toward the van again, and through the tinted glass I saw something move in the back row. Someone sitting where I should have been. Still. Watching. And in that moment, I understood. Maybe I never stepped out at all. Maybe the road never ended. Maybe it never will. Because sometimes, when people pass that stretch of highway at night, they say they see a van parked on the side of the road. Engine running, lights off. And if they look closely enough, they swear they see 8 people inside. And one more shadow, sitting quietly in the back row. Thank you for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, remember to like the video, share it with someone who loves a good mystery, and subscribe for more real stories that don't quite stay fiction. You never know who might be sitting behind you.